Are we live? Yes. So, I don't know if anyone sees us.
According to this thing, not yet. All right, Mimi, you start.
Hi. Finally, we're going to start the Tartan is Stylish panel. I'm Mimi. This is Sarah. A short introduction why we do this. Maybe you can hear we are not from Scotland, so we are. I'm Austrian.
I'm Belgian.
But we both did a colleague of fashion design and textile. I also have a bachelor in history. I did my diploma, my paper about tartan, and I have a Highland title got from my birthday, so I'm technically allowed to wear a tartan. So yeah, I'm a little bit obsessed with tartans. You can see what we're planning to come through today. So you want to?
Yeah, I can introduce myself. So as you already heard, I did the college as well, the college degree. I have a Bachelor of Art Education. Living in Austria now for 3 years. And yeah, we have numbered all of our pages. So in case there are questions, you can refer to the page number, and then we can go back to that later. Also, we have our sources later, our footnotes and everything is also according to the page. So just in case that helps.
It's not every footnote I used for the whole panel, but the most important ones are the pictures.
Yeah.
So
yes. And also here as a emotional sort of support person today for Mimi, because she is the expert.
I also have a visual defect. Blah, blah, blah. So if you see me squinting at something, that's why. So the Y part is actually over, but
well, we can prove it. I'm sorry, it's a bit slow. You have to click here for me, thank you.
Yes. Yeah. That's some of my collection. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely not all of it. Honestly. Yes. So we continue talking about tartan itself. So the definition of tartan, or basically the word used in
Gaelic,
yeah,
is I tried to pronounce it Bregan. I'm butchering it anyway.
Brechan.
Yeah.
Okay. Something like that.
It's spelled Breakan. So whatever.
And its meaning pleat.
Yeah, like striped or patterned, and yeah, just in general. Also, the word plate is synonymically used for tartan, and it's the whole fabric thing itself. Okay, anything else?
No, then we can continue to the material. Or the making, actually. The making of tartan.
The very classic material for tartan is obviously wool. Like this wool or some what was this called? Oh god.
You mean raw materials?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And there's also silk and cotton and stuff nowadays. But back then, originally, it was made of wool, and sometimes silk for very rich people.
Yeah, for dresses. Yeah, okay. Today, it's obviously every fabric you can weave in you can do a tartan.
It's always a twill. Basically, yeah. I think there hardly ever any plain weaves.
It doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah. So the weaving is a twill, and it's yarn dyed. That means that the yarn itself, whilst weaving, has already a specific color. It's not afterwards that they print it on, like with a lot of stuff nowadays. Which even happens. They sometimes try to print a pleat on top of a
like the one from Spoonflower, where like
That's
this one.
very strange.
But you don't get it straight. But anyways, yeah, a twill is something like with this this rib in there, this diagonal rib. That's a twill. You can also have a herringbone. That's the one like the V version.
Yeah, with the fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Your jeans is also a twill, for example. The first loom they used for tartans, or in general, was a vertical loom. It has weights pulling the warp threads down, so they are all straight and all vertical, and you just weave between it.
So a lot of this was done with counting, like so many times this color that way, so many times that color the other way, and it must have been an extreme amount of work to do this, because I mean, obviously
you have to do it by hand and not a machine tells you now you have to swap.
Yes, exactly. And also you have to lift every thread by hand, going up or down. Exactly. So luckily they decided to find some stuff to make the work a bit easier.
But they were doing it 8,000 years ago, so yeah.
Yep. So this is the heddle loom. And a heddle is this
the part you can see in the background, the light diagonal things there, that's the heddle. And it helps you to lift a specific amount of warp threads and put the other or press the other ones down.
Exactly. And then shift the thread through it.
Yeah, you just have to throw the shuttle
through it. Exactly. So that's where you can make basically every type of tartan on this.
Every striped, every checked fabric you can make with that one. That's the classic loom for tartan making.
And they still use this now, just automatized.
Yeah, just with electricity. Like, yeah, you don't move it by your pedals with feet. Like.
Exactly.
The third version, just to show you, is the one you can make brocade or this flower fabrics with. This one is basically the oldest computer ever, so I think Newton could work with this computer. You have these punch cards and this just lets the warp threads up or down according to if there is a hole or not. Just so you have seen that one too. Okay, so there's like we said, tartan are twills. Twill is one of the three main ways to weave. Like I said, the rib is a twill. You can either do it in an S version, like it's S version and Z version, if you know what.
It's the direction of the diagonal line.
Yeah, basically. It's just if you look at the fabric, in which direction goes the diagonal line. A plain weave is just up and down, like.
The smallest part is basically, yeah, you go up one, down the other, up one, down the other. Yeah. That's the basic system. And the basic system of a twill is you go up two, down two, up two, down two. So the time that the thread is above or underneath another thread is longer, so it's floating more, and therefore it can get more shine. And
but it's also strong, and it's
stronger. Yes.
Every row you move the rib one or two or whatever positions over, so that's how the
diagonal line comes to exist.
Okay, so you can see more and more. You can visualize it more and better. That's just the difference between how many you are up and how many you are down, and what side or what thread you see more on the right side.
Just a small detail. I hear one of your cats is snoring.
Yeah, sorry. If you hear my cat snoring, that's Hexe. She is sleeping right there.
Yes, exactly. So we have here an example of a weft twill where you see more of the weft thread, and we have an example of a warp twill where you see more of the warp thread.
That's just a version to differentiate. Okay, so you have to dye these threads.
So ideally, a tartan is made between 2 and 6 colors.
That's just
the ideal.
That it's not getting too much, but yeah, you also have more, or yeah.
You have ones with more, and so back like super long ago, they only had the natural dyes around them. The industrial and chemical dyes changed
before the 19th century, yes.
So they were using minerals, plants, and basically depending on which plant, the roots or the leaves or the bark, or so we have listed here some examples, and we would like to talk a bit more about woad itself.
Yeah, woad is basically the European version of indigo. It exists in Great Britain and Central Europe, and this picture is actually from Wikipedia, but it is the Donau Island in Vienna. So yeah, it actually
grows in Vienna.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's indigo, so it's the classic jeans blue is also indigo. So if you want to have a picture in mind, that's the blue. It also doesn't need
for dyeing it, yes. Yeah. For dyeing it, you don't need any extra thing except for a bit of lye.
Yeah, you need lye.
To make the dyeing work. So no iron or calcium or anything, copper salts, nothing is necessary. It's super easy, and it's been used for at least 5,000 years. That's like how long it's been documented.
I think at least
5,000, and if not 12,000.
12,000. So basically, Garden of Eden could also
blue.
Blue. Okay, I think that's the most important facts about that.
Around the 18th century, that's when true indigo was imported from Asia,
and that made it cheaper. And but also the local industry didn't like the imported stuff.
Exactly, it made it very difficult. And then the 19th century is when they figured out how to synthesize indigo and other chemical colors, and it became really a lot cheaper to make these colors. And tartan was also having a popularization at that point.
Yeah.
So it became much more available, much cheaper, more vibrant, and reproduction got easier.
But we will come to that hopefully back later. Okay.
Oh, I have one more thing we should say to that though.
Yeah.
Any and all tartans which have been registered, you can find at the Scottish Register of Tartan, but that's where they're protected.
Yeah, we will come back to that also later. So this the left picture I took last year in Hallstatt in the Welterbe-Museum. The fabric is actually about 8,000 years old. And the right one is a remake from an Austrian company called Rattle. They let me take a picture of that. Like you can see, it's also already has herringbone, and from 8,000 BC. So they were quite advanced.
So this is something they found in Austria, but tartan was worn in most of West Europe.
Yeah.
During the Celtic times, and they used tartan to identify someone's status. Basically, like a chief had 4 stripes, a druid had 6, and a king could have 7.
Also, which type of color you used is more or less expensive. So that would also be an indicator how rich you are. Like today, what I don't know. brand you wear or something. That's not. This picture is not really a tartan, but it's from the same part in the museum, and so you can have more see how old it is and what they made it out of,
and how well such fabrics actually survive.
Yeah.
It's amazing that it's still alive. That must have been like the best quality you can imagine.
I mean, it's from Hallstatt, so it was probably found in the salt mines, so that helps a lot. Okay. This one is actually from Scotland. This one is a picture out of a book I have here. So the quality is a bit different. But this one is from the 2nd century AD. Just another example of an ancient tartan.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are coming to the modern history. Well, tartan has a very political, or is heavily politically loaded. Let's say it like that. Okay, it all started with the Glorious Revolution, where King James II, or the 7th of Scotland, had to flee from the Parliament, and his daughter and their husband, William of Oranien, and had to live in exile. Also, his son and his grandson. This picture is actually his grandson, Bonnie Prince Charles.
Charles Edward Stuart, to be exact.
Yeah. But he's so bonny. Okay. Charles tried to get back the throne for the last time. They were called the Jacobites. The Jacobites were basically a conglomerate of
like people who wanted Scotland to be free, people who wanted Catholic.
Catholic. They wanted the Stuarts on the throne, or just weren't happy with the current government, or just were suffering under their.
Yeah, and the name Jacobites comes from Jacobus, which is basically a supporter of James.
No, Jacobus is just a Latin word for Jacob or James, or that's all like synonyms.
Exactly, and this picture,
he's wearing tartan. He's not wearing the Stuart tartan, but he's wearing tartan, and with that he wants to show that he's one of the folk, like one of the normal people. Or how does he say that? Like modern
Charles from the Hood.
Like modern politicians would wear like traditional clothes to show that they are like normal people, or yeah.
Yep. And so Charles organized the last rising,
Yeah.
which went badly.
Yeah. At Culloden in 1764, they lost against the English. It's also mentioned in the radio drama, where Aziraphale says he saw Crowley in the kilt back then, and I think that's the only.
The only mentioning of Crowley in Tartan?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's also after that is the first time we see Aziraphale in Tartan, or with Tartan.
Yeah. I found a mentioning on Tumblr that maybe he just liked Crowley in tartan, and that's why he wears tartan, because it's stylish.
Exactly. Yes, but basically it was really bad that they lost the battle, because after that the Chancellor composed the Disclosing Act of 1746, which means the tartan wearing was illegal. For a full 36 years,
yeah,
it was illegal.
Tartan was banned, and you were not allowed to wear tartan. But at the beginning of the 19th century, King George IV,
yes,
yeah, fourth, visited Scotland. It was the first time in 200 200 years since a reigning monarch visited Scotland, and he was there with
Walter Scott.
Walter
Sir Walter Scott.
Yeah. And Sir Walter Scott made the king wear a kilt, and that was one of the main reasons Tartan got popular also in like higher society.
Yeah, but altogether, anything that's forbidden is kind of cool. So there was already a little vibe going on about Tartan being kind of cool. And it goes further than that. Actually, Queen Victoria and her husband Albert, Prince Albert, sorry, they were big fans of Tartan, and yeah, you can.
I'll do it. I'm sorry, I don't find the button.
For some reason.
Oh,
that's why.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, Prince Albert designed the Balmoral Tartan, which is named after their summer residence
in Scotland.
In Scotland, exactly.
Also,
and
they're all there in Tartan. I saw some pictures. It's even for me, it's a bit much.
So, but the Balmoral Tartan is only allowed to be worn by the royal family and the Queen's personal bagpipe person. So, yes, it's very exclusive.
I think he's very honored.
Very exclusive. So, but here you see a very nice example of this tartan. Yeah, and the registration of tartan has been happening since 1615, and everything that has been registered, we can find at the Scottish Registry. It's an online database.
Nowadays, it's an online database.
Nowadays, yeah, it wasn't in 16. Would have been impressive. But just a detail, the Heaven's Dress tartan is not registered yet or ever. We don't know.
Do it, BBC.
So next is actually explaining that there are also other checks.
Yeah, before we go further into the other different tartans, there are, for example, two similar kinds of checks. Is it working? The gland check and the Vichy caro. The gland check is just this, the left one, this in itself another check, like, if you know what I mean.
But it's just a two-color check, basically.
Yeah, maybe three sometimes, but yeah, it's not very colorful like, in itself. And the Vichy caro is also like the classic tablecloths, like the white and red ones. That's also a Vichy caro. And if you have the lumberjack red and black, that's just per coincidence the Rob Roy tartan, but it's actually just a Vichy caro, and it just makes a third color where it meets.
Exactly. That's where they mix up.
Yeah.
Then, actual types of tartan.
We have some examples. There are many more, but mostly you have a standard tartan that's mostly the clan tartan, and then you have different versions of it with some color changes or just minimal thread count changes.
Yeah, they were usually changed later on in the 19th century when more chemical dyes were available. But also it was meant as a for the usage. So if you have a morning check, you could wear it for these type of occasions, or the dress tartan, which is mostly worn by women, so the dress doesn't become so heavily pleated, so heavily colored. Yeah. So also available is a hunting version or a weathered version if you would like to have a more vintage look. It's like we did not invent vintage, it was already existing quite some time.
Or a muted look if you want just something fitting with your tweed or something. The left one is the classic Stuart tartan, like Bonnie Prince Charles would have worn. Then the black one, the morning one, and the dress one for mostly women.
often also the dress one was made out of silk.
Yeah. Okay. Then the other example is actually another tartan. It's the black watch one. And these pictures are also from the book, so they are not that vibrant. But here you can see there is a weathered version that has the same thread count and set, but you just play with the filter basically, or yeah, whatever.
What they did there, yeah. And then the ancient one is much smaller. Yeah. The check itself is much smaller. So that's how we're also looking at the tartan.
Yeah.
From Aziraphale, which is coming up now.
I think what you've been waiting for. So the heaven dress tartan indicates that there is a heavens tartan, and you can see it's not symmetrical in both ways, like vertical and horizontal.
It's neither horizontal nor vertically. Is it?
Yeah, most other tartans are. Well, you were sitting on it. Yeah. Are symmetrical.
Either horizontal or horizontal and vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is the standard of the heavens tartan?
We had some help from Blatant Escapism.
Blatant Escapism.
Yes.
On Tumblr is also linked in the footnotes.
We were allowed to use these pictures. We have been in communication with her or him. I don't know. Or them. Yeah. This person. And they were so nice to make us actually.
No, we're allowed to copy the picture.
You were allowed to copy it. Okay.
Yeah. So you can see the set of the heavens dress tartan in close up, and which colors, like in general, could be used. It depends on the light, so how they look. Like you can see, yeah. Totally, it doesn't look the same, but yeah. Okay, so that's the dress one, but
what's the standard?
We have 3 theories of what's the standard version is. So that could be the standard version. That's the one heaven wears, but it has such big checks, and it doesn't look.
It looks like a Vichy caro. It doesn't like a Rob Roy, but in other colors. It doesn't look like a real tartan.
And it's not this fine
elegant lines.
These stripes. Yeah. So maybe, but yeah.
Option number 2.
Yeah. I think that's the first one he wears.
The first time he's wearing tartan.
Yeah, in the series. So maybe that's the standard heavens tartan, and he just later designed a second version and called it dress version. So maybe that's the standard version, but it also doesn't.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. It doesn't have the same thread count. It just looks a bit different. That's the one from Spoonflower. It doesn't look the same to my bow tie at all, actually, because that's quite symmetrical. Yeah. Okay. The third one is a version blatantly
blatant escapism.
Yeah,
exactly.
Made, and they just took the dress version and recolored the parts where with the same set, but not.
It's a suggestion for a standard version of the heavens dress tartan.
Yeah, and probably the one Crowley would wear if he would wear a tartan, like, yeah. Okay.
And then there is another one they tried out, which is a hunter version, yes. So with more, A
hunting version has always more browns, greens, blue to
blend in.
To blend in, yeah.
Yes. So that's the suggestions that we have, and now we move on to a little bit just interesting tartans that are registered under the tartan registration.
Yeah,
of
the
Scotland.
authority of tartan.
Exactly. So here we go.
The official LGBT plus tartan, like you can see, it's not 6 colors like
Often or most of the time.
we mentioned before. It's 7 because it's the colors of the flag plus black. But I think that's a very, even my father likes it, so yeah. Very stylish one. I had to put that one in. That's actually the one I'm allowed to wear. That's from the Highland title organization, where you can buy as a part of a national park and save the environment by not letting someone build there.
Which is what you got for your 24th birthday,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You are Lady of
Glencoe and Lochava. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm sorry. But Glencoe and Lochava, yeah. I have 11 square feet.
And then, for all the Whovians out there, we have found the K9
Yeah.
tartan.
It's in the official register is the K9 tartan from the Tom Baker period.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on his collar, on K9's collar. Yeah.
And then for
Obviously
the Crawley fans out there, we have found the David Tennant tartan, or basically the one he is allowed to wear because he was born as David MacDonald, right?
There are a lot of MacDonald tartans out there, so he would be allowed to wear something else too, probably. Yeah, I think there are 27 MacDonald tartans registered, and it always looks a bit different when from the pictures taken of his kit. It's just the green is not showing in most of them, but yeah, it has to be this one.
Or at least one of the MacDonald tartans.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the versions of.
There's also a Tennant tartan, but I don't think it's related to him, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
And then we are already down to
the conclusion.
So, is tartan stylish?
The main question we are asking ourselves here. Yes, it is.
Let it go. Let it go. It really is stylish. It's used in very many collections nowadays, like Alexander McQueen, Dries van Noten, Chanel. It keeps coming back in the big designers, but also as a traditional piece of wearing.
Yeah,
it's coming back. Many people wear it for weddings, and especially people from Scotland or
school uniforms. A lot of I don't know, fire brigades have their own tartan. I think Nova Scotia and Ontario have their own tartan, like Canada, the States. Yeah, yeah. A lot of organizations have their own tartan because it's just to make your own tartan and register it, and it's got very popular through Outlander. What is there else? Like Braveheart started it all. Like
you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, while we're here, you could
lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks. But then also, like, let's just face it, the 80s.
Yeah.
Punk.
70s,
so cool.
80s. Vivienne Westwood. Yeah.
Yeah, Vivienne Westwood, exactly. And so that's our conclusion.
What erat demonstrandum? What has had to be proven? So.
Has been proven. Now we're coming through the part of the footnotes. There are very many footnotes, but
you just can stop the video. I think we are recorded and go back
and use everything that you want. We're just like going through it for a second, that anybody can pause when necessary.
I just had to make it a bit scientific in the construction of the you know. Exactly. My main sources, if you want to research yourself. I also have the book here. If you would just Stand up a bit.
Am I on your skirt?
Yeah.
How is that even possible? I'm not even moving.
It's a big skirt. So that's the book I used. If you wanted to buy it yourself, there are some different places where it's cheaper or more expensive. So be careful.
And then for the last,
the other ones are in German or just dice or something.
and then for the last slide that we have, we got a question in advance asked, and that was which our favorite Tartans are. So
mine, the most I have of is the Royal Stewart Tartan, and it's just the very classic one, and it has a lot of red. Red is my favorite color, and it's just the ground colors like yellow and green and blue. But I think the good part of tartans is you can choose what mood you have today, and if you want to have a muted tartan today and not be like this vibrant today, you just take the, I don't know, black watch tartan or something like my skirt today.
Yeah, obviously mine is the black McDonald tartan. I guess I just like black stuff, but also it's super subtle, but it's still a check. I don't know, it's just so cool. But on the small detail is that I'm dressed as Crawley today.
Yeah, it's the most Crawley tartan one.
Yes, but also for me as a person, it's still, I love it. It's just so amazing. But it's also like David Tennant Crawley. He's allowed to wear the McDonald tartan from his heritage.
Oh yeah, Easter eggs.
and the black McDonald tartan is so Crawley. It's just so fitting. It's just amazing.
Okay, we have
a bit more
5 minutes left. We did it.
We have 5 minutes left, and please ask questions. We'll be here.
Okay. What's?
We haven't got any questions yet.
Any questions?
But it's like 20 seconds late, so you know.
Please. Or anything we can just babble about, like.
Well, how much meters of fabric do you need for a kilt?
It depends. There are versions with 4 meters, and somewhere I read 12 meters, which is insane. Like a toga.
That must be so heavy.
A toga is like 10 meters or something, and.
Okay. Wow. No, just like if you would make a kilt for yourself.
I think today it's just about 2 meters. You have to think about like knife pleats are 3 times the width, and in the front it's just overlapping.
But it's flat, right? There are no pleats in the front.
Yeah, in the front it's just flat, but in the back it's
pleated the whole way around.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, you just need the length of that and like 1.40 meters. What do you think? That 1.50 meters?
No, I would just take twice your
twice the circumference of your body, of your
hip,
butt,
of your hip.
The biggest area.
Yeah. What else? Yeah, that's why you could make kilts out of single width. So
we have one question. You did such a good job. How did you get interested in tartan?
Well, I think it actually, I don't know if someone out of Germany or Austria knows that, but we have like the school bags from Felix, or Letters of Felix, like this little bunny, and he has a checked bow tie. And I wanted this kind of school bag in preschool. I think it started back there, and it just got worse and worse. And then I did my presentation. Well, Corona made me not have the presentation, but that's my diploma paper. If you can see, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if we could see.
Could you?
I think so.
Yeah. So that's the main reason. And then I've been to Scotland for 3 weeks, yeah.
Well, and I met some crazy girl in school who was super interested in Tartan, and now I'm part of it.
Yeah, everyone in my class is like, oh, that's Tartan, and was thinking about me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so for Mimi. Oh, that's such a thing for Mimi. That's yeah. That's quite it. Well, I think if anybody wants to ask us more questions,
We could go over to the lounge.
But for now, I think we have to round up and let the next people start.
Yeah.
So thank you for your attention.
Thank you for watching.